The Circle of Hope is a fund that provides financial assistance to cancer patients who are being treated at Memorial Hospital so that they may concentrate on their healing journey. Matthew William Bernsen was born on February 17, 1973. His younger brother Timothy joined the family 2 years later. As a youngster, Matthew was described by his parents, Rod and Leslie, as bright, funny, and winsome, a characteristic that would be part of him for his life. Matty also found a love for cooking.
All the men in the family cook, in my family, and Rod does too. So Matt was enthralled with cooking. Watching my grandfather is very close to my father. When he was in high school, he was on the wrestling team, and he asked for a walk for a Christmas present and asked us not to tell the wrestling team, that this was the gift he wanted. So he was always involved with cooking, but he did not go back to study cooking until he was 30. He was trying several different things, but then finally decided to go back to the thing he loved the most, and that was to become a chef. So he did graduate with honors from the Cordon Bleu, and after we moved here and he had come to visit, he said it's so beautiful in Colorado, so he decided to come this way and got a job in Boulder. He came down to visit, and he was showing signs of what we assume was bronchitis. And because his insurance had not gotten into place yet with the new job, he went to the urgent care here locally. And they gave him a Z-Pack. And another month passed, and he was down again, I guess, after the 4th of July. And still was very thin and still coughing. So that's the time we knew it was time to get chest x-rays and go further with him. And so that was all through the urgent care, and that's when they discovered that he had spots on his lungs. We had been shown his CAT scans and all. You could see his whole spine was black and through his hip, and that he had bone cancer throughout his body. So he was already at stage 4 when he was diagnosed. They were very honest with us in the prognosis and what would be taking place. So, but we were still overwhelmed. His brother had come in here to visit, and so he was with us. So when Dax Kurbakov, his doctor at the time, explained everything to us, it was just so overwhelming, really. I mean, we were just so taken back.
When you're going through something like that with your child, and indisputably, this is every parent's worst nightmare, to lose their child. To me, it's the most unnatural act of all in nature, is for a parent to outlive their child. And going through that, to have people like the Circle of Hope, the social workers, I mean, they just stepped in and took over. Leslie and I were just kind of like trying to process this horrible, horrible thing that's happening to our child. And I am so grateful, and I know Leslie's grateful, that the Circle of Hope, the social workers, the Cancer Center, Memorial Hospital, goodness sakes, even the valets at the hospital,
everyone
just went out of their way to be there for us and to support us and help us in the midst of having a terminal illness. One of Matthew's really big fears was, how's that going to impact you, Mom and Dad? You know, obviously we've done well, we're comfortable, but we're also retired, or I'm retired, Leslie's still working. I'm a kept man. And the people at the Circle of Hope said, Matthew, time out. You've worked your entire adult life. You've earned these things that we're going to be helping you with. Don't worry about that. You concentrate on your treatment. You concentrate on Matthew. We will take care of everything else. And you could see the relief that of all the things that he was dealing with, his one big fear was, well, how's that going to impact my folks? And when the Circle of Hope folks stepped up and the social workers stepped up, the infusion nurses, it's kind of overwhelming. It really is. Our last Thanksgiving together was one heck of a Thanksgiving. Yeah. We had 4 or 5 5-star chefs in the house at one time. And he was there as weak and sick as he was. He was there.
I could see he was exhausted, but he said to us, I think 1 million cells, cancer cells, were killed today. He had such a wonderful time. He started to get very ill at Christmas. He had gotten fluid around his heart, so he had to go back to Memorial, and it was Dr. Greenberg who actually drained that fluid, but we found out that was all cancer. And I needed another chest tube in. So we started to see a rapid, and he was not able to breathe well, so then he was put on oxygen. So we had a rapid movement from right after Christmas, actually, right down. Matt died January 7th.
He had lost his ability to speak.
Talk.
And so he was writing notes, and he wrote a note and he said, "Am I going to die?" And we said, "Yeah, Matt, you are, yes." And his response was, "That sucks."
That's what he said.
That's what he wrote to us.
That's
and we
what
have
he wrote.
that note.
Said,
that sucks.
That sucks. I don't know what it is to be 35 and to know that your life will end. It's a very difficult question. But he was very courageous. And in the end, when Dr. Hoyer, who's at Memorial today, explained that nothing was working, and he gave Matt the opportunity to think about leaving the hospital and taking on hospice. Rod stayed down at the hospital with them that night. And the next morning I came early, and Dr. Hoyer came in to talk more about it. Matthew had made the decision to come home. He said, "I'd like to come home and die here with my family." So we called our son Tim, and he was able to come. Matthew lived for 3 days. When we knew he was going to leave the hospital, all the nurses from the infusion center that knew him, and the nurses now, he was in one of the private rooms, and the volunteers, and even the gal that used to put in the coffee, came by to say goodbye. And for me, that was really very a very emotional day for me. And it is even today when I talk about it, because I think that what he saw and what we saw, that he was cared for. He was not alone.
I think any man needs 3 qualities. And both of my boys had these qualities, and I strive for them. I think a man has to have integrity, compassion, and equally important to those two is a sense of humor. And Matthew absolutely embodied those 3 qualities. Matthew was a good man.
We were together when he was born, and we'll be together when he dies. So we watched him enter the world and leave the world. In a way, I think that's privilege, actually.
I really miss my son. That's what I said on his birthday, and I think I will say it every birthday, but have that same feeling every day. I miss my son.